So in this video we are going to take a close look at the next generation of Gamebox and Game Sticks. What did they change out and what is better? But there is one thing they changed out that is quite interesting. Hey, welcome back to the channel. So in today's video we are going to take a close look at this new Gamebox 4K Ultra HD set-top box. Yeah, that's absolutely a mouthful. But this is one of those devices that they just released. And I must say that when you're looking at them, there are some interesting specifications and also some interesting things to it. So one of the things that is interesting is mainly the software, where they are all running on cheap boxes from China, things you can buy for a couple of dollars nowadays. But still, they change some things out that you can do yourself. As you can see, both boxes have similarities, because this is one of the manufacturers are releasing many of these game boxes, where some of them have their own Linux based devices or some EmuELEC that is slapped on here. This is something different. This is something that is a combination of an Android box or an Android stick in combination with, let's say, the option to play actually games. So what they're doing is slapping some old Android boxes together and slapping some EmuELEC, because that's actually what it is. EmuELEC is a piece of software you can download for free yourself. So if you're going to get yourself the right chipset with an Android box, you can make it fairly cheap. This is a very tiny box, by the way, and it's absolutely the M8 Pro Mini. So when it comes to this, it's absolutely just an Android box. There is nothing special or a logo whatsoever. The only thing they did is adding an SD card to it with some firmware, adding some controllers, and that's actually it. In the inside, we're only going to get ourselves a 64 gigabyte. And do you know what's kind of bummer? They are using a lot of cheap cards. They're not even branded. Back in the day they had original SanDisk, but also fake ones. But now we're just having very cheap cards with no brand whatsoever. So I recommend backing them up, because if you don't do this, they can get corrupted fairly easy. The product only comes with 2 older USB ports, not even 3.0. Then we're going to get ourselves an HDMI, the input for the power supply, RJ45, and an AV out that most of the time doesn't even work with the emulation or retro emulation software. Nevertheless, let's plug everything in and let's play some games. Another really annoying thing is there is no on-off switch on the system itself, so you need to do something with the power supply. But what makes this thing quite unique at this point is that it comes with a weird Android version. And what do I mean? Normally when you're going to load up a device like this, it will instantly load into the game section, but it doesn't do that at all. It basically sideloads the Android and just loads up a new interface and software. But this is a quite interesting story, because we're not going to get different software. We're just going to get ourselves a weird looking Android version that has Google Play and Netflix. Take consideration, these boxes are most of the time rooted, so you cannot even use Netflix 1080p. But putting it up over here in the game section, we're just going to get the menu that we're normally going to get. But let's take a close look at the menu. What can we actually play with this device? There are all kinds of platforms on it. Think about N64, PlayStation Portable. But with these very cheap, like low power boxes, not everything is going to be running perfectly. All the way up to PlayStation 1, I think it's not going to be a problem. So there we're going to mainly focus on just to see what kind of platforms will run on it and what not at all. So we can press the Y button, and with Y we do have an option to search. The first thing, and that's quite positive, that the interface works quite fast. It's always interesting to see how everything is unique to its own, and I mean especially when you're looking at all the different boxes we've reviewed. So let's say Mortal Kombat, I want to search for that. Now we're going to get a different page where we see all of the 21 games. The unfortunate thing is no idea what kind of platform we're playing on. We can look at the pictures, but that's actually it. And when going into a system like Game Boy, we can put games in the favorite list. Let's say we're pressing the X button, and this is basically how it works all. I think the interface is quite easy to navigate. By pressing the favorite button, the only downside I think there is no general favorite list, so you can put all of your games on one big list. That is a little bit of a bummer, so it's quite limited when it comes to the interface. Start and select doesn't do anything pressing at the same time. Some of them even have the option to configure new controls, so this system is completely locked. So let's start off with some basic stuff like Game Boy Advance. There is no way of changing the aspect ratio. The only thing that we're going to get, pressing select and start, bringing you to this special quick load, quick save menu. Joystick key can be switched out. We can quit the game this way, and that's it. So that's actually how everything works. Oh man, the filter they are using is this very strange filter that looks absolutely rubbish on this. So far so good. When it comes to the audio, no weird stuff going on. The annoying thing is when you're getting into Game Boy, where everything is stretched and even having 6:9 aspect ratio. But also the same kind of weird blurry, not like blurry, it's like this very strange filters over it. I know why they're adding this, simply because everything looks really bad when it comes to stretched out. But the overall gameplay is just fine. Another thing I've noticed, like the general volume is absolutely low. When I'm going to mess with my television, it has been set to 90% of maximum volume. So it's crazy to think about it. The output that comes from this is very low. The only thing I can maybe figure out is that getting myself the extra remote, because the internal audio is not on the right volume of the Android box itself, because that's actually what it's using now. So let's see if we can make a quick slot. Is that the thing what happened? Let's see if that worked out. No, I think I pressed the wrong button. There we go. There we go. Let's go to the load. I have no idea how this works. Seriously. No. No, I have no idea how it actually works. I tried a couple of things, but nope. So it seems to be it doesn't work, or I'm just messing it up. There is one thing I do wonder. Let's restart this machine. And can we actually save in the game itself? Because that can be a problem. Memory card. Save OK. Okay. Now we're going out of the game, just see actually how this works. Let's boot up the game again. And let's see if they have the option enabled for saving. Memory card. No. No Tekken 4. No. So basically that is also something that is a problem. Save function doesn't work at all. So far I have tested. So let's try some PlayStation Portable. This is a system that is very demanding for these cheap Android boxes. There's one very strange thing going on. So you can make a quick load, quick save. Already mentioned before. For me, it was a hit or miss. So let's load it. Nothing works. Okay, let's put slot 2. Okay, so the save function or the quick load, quick save seems to be working just fine. So what's interesting, pressing select to start, we're not going to get into the emulator itself. So there's nothing we can adjust. We're even having this strange configuration if you want to mess around with the controls. But let's get into the gameplay and show you what we're actually going to get. And yeah, the cheap boxes don't have very good emulation performance for three-dimensional games PlayStation Portable. Tekken 5 is a game that will run okay on these boxes. So what I'm actually going to get is just a complete kit with an Android stick, 2 controllers, the Bluetooth voice remote that we're not going to be using, an HD cable and a power cable. There is no adapter whatsoever most of the time. But what we're going to get is a very tiny, very cool looking game stick. They also say it over here, TV and game stick. What you need to do is unplug it and just plug it into your television. Give this thing some juice with the micro USB cable. And yep, you can just plug it in and you can just enjoy some retro games. But we're going to get ourselves more goodies. The controllers, and with the controllers it's always a gamble. And this thing, man, this feels really cheap. Very strange plastic. The battery compartment, 2 AAA batteries, and on and off switch is the same configuration that I've seen many times before. But it is absolutely cheap quality. You can just feel it by holding it. Okay, so let's plug in the USB in my television. It's highly possible that it doesn't give you enough juice, so you need to use a separate 5-volt adapter. It's also a little bit more convenient because you can just turn it on and off through the adapter. Now, when I'm going to plug it in, I'm going to use the extension cord for today. But if you're going to use it like this, when turning on the television, it automatically boot up the device itself. So when booting up the device itself, it will show you Android in the beginning, because it's just an Android box. Take that into consideration, but let's mute it, because sometimes you're going to get this crazy, annoying intro. There we go. And it will show you this intro that you cannot skip at all. It will take a couple of minutes, of course, rounding it up, and then we're going to get another loading screen. And after that loading screen, we're going to be booting up in the system itself, where you can actually choose the game, the platform, or platforming game, and just enjoy yourself. Nevertheless, it will take up a couple of seconds, but the configuration for each box is quite different. For example, with this one. You don't need to connect this thing to the internet, so what we're going to do is going into the game over here. By entering the game, we're going to get into the menu where we can choose our platform. The configuration is just different for each product, and it also includes for this. So this is the platform we're getting: GBA N64, Game Boy Color, Game Boy Classic, Super Famicom, Mega Drive, PlayStation Portable, Famicom, PlayStation 1, Neo Geo. Then with Capcom Systems, and of course, then have we of course better set like we got Mayman Arcade. Pressing select and start, we're going to get the quick save, quick load option for each single game. Here having different slots where we can quick load and quick save, and the joystick configuration over here. It's very limited with the stuff that you can do actually. So that's it. There is no way of configuring the emulators whatsoever. So you're stuck with what you're seeing over here. Also, when you're going to get into the list, it looks kind of basic. We're just going to get ourselves like 2 pictures. Getting this like multi-card feeling, by the way. But that's it. That's the only thing that we're going to get. So what I did notice, there is no way of changing the aspect ratio. Here we're going to get into menu. The only thing we can do is mess with the joysticks. Make a quick load, quick save, and that's it. Also, they have like this very strange cartoony looking layout over it. Absolutely horrible. The D-pad is quite sturdy, so it's not even comfortable to play for a basic beat 'em up. And I can tell you the graphics look absolutely horrible. Normally I'm not that nitpicky when it comes to certain like filters, but this looks really bad. I'll give him a close up. I know why they're doing this, because let's be honest, the pixelated games stretch out looks horrible. But this doesn't make it any better. Let's get into the gameplay shortly just to see what happens. And it seems to be that the game's actually like stabilizing to a certain point that we can actually play it and enjoy it. Everything has been configured correctly. I can use the acceleration and also use the joystick like it should be. But in the beginning it had a lot of problems. So let's jump into the PlayStation Portable. Still one of my favorite systems to play, not on these devices, because they do struggle a lot with it. Implemented frame skipping and a lot of slowdown, or at least like speed ups. But yeah, so I think that is not going to be enjoyable. Two-dimensional games will most of the time run fine. But yeah, they're like not really demanding when it comes to the chipset itself. Pressing select and start, there is no option getting into the emulator. For example, if you're going to choose the joystick, we can change out some things, but in the end we cannot change out something in the emulator. A little bit of bummer, maybe with some tweaking we get a little bit better performance, but that's what we're going to get with PlayStation Portable. Okay, so let's get into some PlayStation 1. Let's see if everything has been configured correctly. Yep, like the original games, because we're actually playing with a PlayStation controller now. They also included the soundtrack, so they just added the game like it should be. Sometimes if they're missing the audio files, we just have like a silent game. So this is absolutely a new generation or a new era of different kind of game boxes. But when you're looking at the software itself, it's quite interesting that it's a hybrid between an Android and a game box. But if you're looking at the Linus Tech Tip videos, you really don't want to use these Android boxes anymore, or that is what I understand of his video. But when you're looking at the game boxes and you don't connect to the Wi-Fi, yeah, you have something different. It's a little bit more convenient if you want to basically combine both of the functionalities. No, we need to remove the SD card, but it is necessary with this particular one. That is one of the easy and the new features you're getting. Let me know what you think of these cheap game boxes. Thank you all for watching. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions, and it will be great to see you in the next video.